You know what I never understood, Zeke?
I would have thought it was a plural, not a singular.
It's a singular. Like, why are there so many country songs about Jack Daniels, but none about BTAC?
Probably with the way it rhymes and its cadence and the way it flows. Like the same reason Tennessee is in God knows how many songs. But how many songs do you hear Massachusetts or New Hampshire in?
All I need is my dog and my truck and a little bit of BTAC in my cup.
You know, when you sing, we lose listeners.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards. With me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drink of Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us part of your day. And this is going to be something different. Want to give a little bit of love to our sponsors to start this off. Thank you for helping us to pay the bills. Our friends at orcacoolers.com. Use code DADSEASON for 20% off. Make sure you get all your laser edge glassware wholesale priced at distilleryproducts.com. And if you want action, get in on the action with action247.com, Tennessee's only sportsbook by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. Use code DADS100 and they will match up to $400 of your first deposit. Now that we got that out of the way, we're just getting right to the meat. There's no potatoes in this show. There's no banter. We're not going back and forth. We know that y'all want to know what's going on with BTAC in 2021. So that's what we're going to do for the next 4 days. There's going to be not a lot of banter, more notes, quicker shows. You could just reference these right away. The next 2 shows are going to go a lot quicker because I don't have to explain it like this anymore. But we're just getting right into it. Right, Zeke?
That's what the producer tells me.
The producer, the co-host, the editor, everything. He just does a little bit of everything. What do you do, Zeke?
I thought I was the meat and you were the potatoes.
That was actually a good one. Okay, enough banter. That is enough banter for today. We are starting off drinking the Saz 18. The reason we're doing that is we're going from lower proof to higher proof throughout this whole process. The 2021 straight rye whiskey release. They talk about the flavors. We don't really care about that. We want to tell you what we get. But the barrels for this whiskey were filled in the spring of 2003, and it rested on the second and fourth floors of warehouses K&P. It's bottled at 90 proof. What did you get on Saz 18, Zeke Baker?
Palate for these segments are going to be more than nose. I tasted through them a couple times and nosed them on the back end, so apologies if that side seems lacking. But again, we really wanted to cut to the chase and tell you what we tasted because, you know, smelling doesn't always mean a ton. Nose-wise, I thought it reminded me of like wintergreen and licorice gum put together. There's some brand, I can't remember, but they make a blue and a green. One's wintergreen, one's licorice. If you had a half a piece of both in your mouth at the same time, this would be it. Maybe like some elderberry. Not 100% sure on that, but something like that kind of family popped in my head. Palate-wise, nuts and bolts here. I thought it was minty and grainy in the sense of rye grain and tasting it almost elementally and not like gritty or the texture of it being grainy because some folks may get confused there. The spice component of it definitely seemed to be more from the oak and or char than the mash bill. I kind of thought, and I don't know, it's been a long time, but at one point it reminded me of like a wintergreen Skull Bandit. I definitely kind of had some weird flashback to that. I don't know how spot on it is, but it took me there for a minute. Long time ago, like high school years.
That's very specific. You're going with the pouch on that one, opposed to having some long cut.
Well, I thought the pouch always, like it threw the flavor off, made it a little bit sweeter or something. I don't know why, but it wasn't as much of a punch. I never felt like.
That's fair.
I mean, I don't know. Literally, this is like sophomore year of high school, probably. Shit. I definitely thought that finish-wise, and I know we haven't got there yet, but since we tasted all these, I thought that compared to the Eagle Rare 17, it had a more dry and starchy finish than the Eagle Rare 17, but I didn't think that necessarily like had like the strongest adhesion principles or bond to the tongue as far as yielding to a long finish. It was kind of there, it kind of latched on, but you know, if you moved, you know, what was left around or you know, worked the saliva a little bit, it definitely dissipated as opposed to some things that, I or we've had in the past where you're just like, man, I can't scrape this off of my tongue. Like, whoa, like that thing's going to be there for an hour.
And I would expect that from the one that's 90 proof. But last year's Saz was super thick, even at 90. It was just a big pour for me. I did not get that with this one. I'm not saying it wasn't enjoyable by any means. What I definitely got was probably the thinnest pour. And I know it's easy to say the 90 proof is the thinnest pour, but it's probably the thinnest mouthfeel out of all four of the BTACs this year. What I will say is I wrote down the same thing as you, and I haven't seen this in any of their tasting notes, and going back, I really tried to not look at what they said in the press release until I wrote down my notes because I didn't want to be swayed. They didn't even have this in here, but I wrote licorice too. I did that on the nose and the taste. Funny enough, there was a lot of apple with that for me too on the nose, but it was like an apple cider vinegar, but if it wasn't as much vinegar, just a lot more apples and a little just touch of vinegar on the nose. I agree with 99% of what you said on the taste and finish, and definitely feel like it wasn't really sticking to your tongue. I mean, this pour moved quick. It was over in a bang. It didn't really stop and cuddle after you took a sip of it. It was gone. It was out the door. It already Ubered back to its own apartment. But I did get a fair amount of apples on the taste as well, in addition to what you got. So I would expect, though, an 18-year-old whiskey, when you said that you thought a lot of the spice came from the oak as more than the whiskey. I mean, this still is a rye mash bill. There's some rye there, but I agree that I think the wood influences this one more than the mash bill just in this year's release.
Yeah, that's where I was just trying to differentiate, was the way that the spice comes off the tongue, especially if you've had some of the, older, as I like to say, hyper-aged products. It gives a sensation that's very similar to rye and kind of has that heat to it, but it definitely seems to be from the barrel and not the grains that were in the barrel.
Zeke, are you going to seek this one out retail if you can find it? Would you get it?
Based on how limited this is, and we know I don't go into stores very much, if by chance someone offered it to me, I would say, thanks. You've got another customer that'll think more of it than I will. Take care of me somewhere else.
I would ask for another one out of the BTAC lineup. Not going to say what it is yet. We'll save that for the last day. Anyways, thank you all for listening to this one. You know where to find us. You know where to download us. Find us, follow us, review us, just like we leave reviews about the whiskey we drink. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
Music City, USA.
Cheers.
Ciao.